The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
You want some bad news, Michael?
No.
What are you asking me?
You're the guru of the gray matter. I figured if anybody had it, you'd have the answer.
I can't give you any direction.
I think I'm going to have to change this channel. I'm sorry.
You're completely wrong.
I refuse to be wrong on 2 calls in a row.
Tell me I'm spot on or tell me I'm crazy and I'll get out.
I have no idea.
I have a 6-month-old, so we'll be raising him according to Dr. Ray.
Talk about being a winner.
So, you want my question?
You ain't making any sense.
You're absolutely right. I just needed confirmation.
So what are you going to do about it, Dawn?
I'm calling you.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
Well, I just had a recent epiphany about my age. Took out my driver's license. And it hit me. I thought, that's not a bad picture. You're getting old. These days, my pictures don't do me much justice. They're looking more and more like me. I look in the mirror and go, who's that dude? What happened to that 28-year-old? Where did he go? I have a friend who says if we didn't have mirrors, we wouldn't know that we're getting older. Not a bad thought. Nice to have you here on The Doctor Is In. Appreciate it so very much. The number to get onto the program, kind of lopsided, I think, a little bit. You can just call a number and get on. I had to beg and grovel, scratch my way onto having my own program. 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal. Now, I'm surprised at how many people email me and say, I don't get it. Well, what is 57 equal? It's when you spell out the name equal by the letters that go with each number on your phone. But Dr. Ray, that's an 8-digit number after the prefix. Yeah, I know, but the L drops off. I could say equalization, and you could type that all out, and it doesn't matter. It's just going to go EQUA. 877-57 equal. And the reason I do that is because it's easier to remember. I remember when I was in grad school, we had to take a course on physiological psychology. And memory was one of our topics. And they said the average person remembers with little effort or modicum of effort 7 particular digits or items. And that was very easy. So those of you who are older, do you remember when you had prefixes on your phone? Ours was Glendale 4006, something like that. GL, Glendale 64006. That's right, is what it was. Gyro 64211. It was easy when there weren't as many phones. And then we had to start using area codes. And then area codes broke up. I used to be 216 out of Cleveland, and now I'm 330 out of Canton. So now it's 10 digits you have to remember, and that's a lot harder for a lot of people. But love to have you on the program. Here's how the program works. If you have a question about something in your life, a concern, a struggle, or doesn't have to be, it could just simply be, hey, what do you think of this, Roy Ganudi? Or if you have a comment to help somebody else who's called previously, we get a lot of those, and that's very nice to get. You people are very charitable that way. A generic question. Dr. Ray, I've heard IQ genius level. What does that mean? He has an IQ of a genius level. How do they decide what a genius is? And I don't even know what an IQ is. I don't even know what Q stands for. Those kinds of questions. Very helpful. Very much delighted to take them on. Good Lord permitting, I guess Columbus, Ohio, those of you down in the St. Gabriel listening area, which we did the TV show down there not so long ago. Great visit with those folks. Columbus, Ohio, the K6 Center, men's conference, big monster men conference. Where is the website on this? Hold on a second. I'll give you the website. Where is he? I thought I had it here. I've got several communications on this. Catholic Men's Ministry, Catholic, if you're promotional video, Coming days. I'm stalling too much dead air radio time. Where is this here? Push that one. If I don't get it, I'll get it on the break. Here it is. CatholicMen'sMinistry.com. You go there, 2025 conference. It gives you all the details, where it is, when it is. It's this Saturday. They said they're talking 1,000 to 2,000 guys. You know, I've spoken to a lot of women's conferences. And typically what happens is they have this bevy of guys before the conference come up front. And there's usually 20 or 30 of them. And they say, these are our helpers. These gentlemen will make sure that all of the needs that our ladies have will be taken care of in terms of cars, parking, food, etc. Coffee. And then I noticed when I go to these big men's conferences, one woman pretty much can handle all of it. One woman. The ratio is usually about 20 to 1 men helpers for women's conferences and women's helpers for men's conferences. Okay. I'm going to start a little, symposium here on some of the more widespread misconceptions about ADHD. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's the one most people are familiar with. There's another form of that, which is a sustaining of attention problem, but the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is mostly marked by excessive activity, distractibility, and impulsiveness. The diagnosis since 1990 has gone up 900%. Well, that's basically, 10 times? 10 times. Now, of course, we can say, well, we're more aware now. We have more mental health people looking into it. We have more people seeking it out. Okay, could be one explanation. I think there's others. And I think those others are surrounding the misconceptions. Let me just give you a couple. I can't get into all of them. I'm looking at the clock here, and I got to go to the phones. I hate that. Did you notice that? Crutch word filler. You ever notice how many people say If you look at ADHD as a neurologically based disorder, the tail end of the temperamental continuum. We are all distractible to some degree. We are all impulsive to some degree. We are all active to some degree. If you go to the top 3 to 5%, let's just use the diagnosis with kids. If you go to that, you got 3 to 5% who are very, very distractible, very, very impulsive, very, very active. Much more so than 95% of their age group. Here's what I see happening. If you confine it to that 3 to 5%, you're more likely to get a reliable diagnosis. It's creeping backward. I'm seeing more and more that are 10, 15%. They're in the 85th percentile or the 80th percentile, which makes them look, of course, more active than average, maybe more impulsive than average, more distractible than average, but they're not extremely so, but they're still getting the diagnosis. I'm seeing that, seeing a lot of that. So I think that's one complication, one factor in the heavy diagnoses of ADHD. Some many years ago, I was in a workshop on ADHD given by a guy that's a guru in the area. I mean, he is this is probably one of the top guys for ADHD in the area. And I remember somehow, some way, they got wind that I said that the diagnosis of ADHD would be complicated, confusing, because kids, and this was 20 years ago, I can only imagine it now, kids are immersing themselves in very fast-paced, hyper-stimulating technological stuff. The video games, the computers, the phones, everything is just moving at blinding speed. And I said, that would seem to me to make a lot of kids look distractible and hyperactive and not able to sustain attention because they're being shaped by this. Well, one of the fellas, not the guy that did the workshop, but I think one of his colleagues, called me. He just reamed me up one side and down the other. How dare you imply that a neurological disorder has that kind of factor involved in it? And I told him, I didn't imply that's what caused the disorder. I said that's what can confuse the diagnosis of the disorder. Well, since then, all kinds of research has come out that has said the time spent, especially with boys, the time spent on this stuff does affect their attention span. Of course, it's being shaped. And actually, there is research coming out now that's saying there are neurological changes. This is not just behaviorally learned changes, neurological changes. The more a kid immerses himself in a go, get, fast, now, hyper-stimulatory environment of these games especially, less likely he is to sit in school and go, what? You want me to what? Look at the board? For how long? Well, what's this paper in front of me? There's a lot of problems on this paper. I don't want to do this many problems. And especially having boys sit. It's tough for boys to sit. Boys are naturally more active than girls. They're not as naturally studious as girls, at least in certain kinds of learning. So because of that, more and more of this is happening. I had one teacher tell me one time, but she was in a private school, a Christian school. She had 16 kids. Hers was not a special ed class. She had 16 kids. 8 of them were on medication. 8. 50%. So those are two of the factors. There's a lot more factors, but I'm looking at the clock and I'm way past break. So 877-573-7825. 877 equal. That's the number to call to get on the phone. I definitely want to talk to you.
This program brought to you in part by Ave Maria, Florida, a big kind of small town where golf carts take you everywhere and there's always something fun around the corner. Discover championship golf, resort-style amenities, and a town center full of shopping and dining. With Ave Maria University and Ave Maria Catholic Church at its heart, it's a community full of connection and charm. More than 25 model homes are available for viewing. More information can be found at AveMaria.com. That's AveMaria.com.
We are the pro-life generation, passionate about building the culture of life in our healthcare and in our nation. But not all healthcare options are equally pro-life, and some provide morally objectionable procedures. CMF Curo is different. CMF Curo is a pro-life Catholic healthcare ministry providing a pathway for its members to build the culture of life in their healthcare choices, not destroy it. Learn more about CMF Curo at mycatholichealthcare.com. That's mycatholichealthcare.com.
Hello, Steve Ray here. We're going to Normandy, France in November to celebrate the 80th anniversary of D-Day. We'll also be in Paris for the opening of the resurrected Notre Dame Cathedral. Join us on a pilgrimage of discovery through the saints and shrines of France. Catherine Labourier and the Miraculous Medal, St. Therese of Lisieux, the incorrupt body of Vincent de Paul, a dinner cruise through Paris on the Seine River, and so much more.
Find the Ave Maria Radio travel tab at AveMariaRadio.net. Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866 Ave Maria or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
was at a wedding the other day, and I finally learned not to go out on the dance floor when the average age out there is 21. So about 10 years ago, I was the old guy on the dance floor. People saying, what is he? He's going to hurt himself? His walker's banging into these young people. So I just kind of sat there and ate my money's worth to break even on my wedding gift. I got a new book coming out. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit if I get a chance. But you're first. Claire, before I put you on the air, I want to do a little bit of a prefatory introduction here. Well, no, I'll tell you what. Let me take Claire, and then I'll do a post comment. Hi, Claire.
Dr. Ray, before I say anything, I just want to let you know that you and my 1.5-year-old have the same taste in music. So that's great when your music comes on and he starts dancing to it.
Poor
but
kid.
It's the same 1.5 year. Yeah, poor Joseph. But it's my 1.5-year-old who I'm having problems with. He's decided that when he's angry and upset, he's going to bang his head against the floor, and he's got bruises now. Like it's not a gentle little, I'm upset, look, I'm going to
Claire,
hurt myself, Mommy. It's like,
would you be offended if I said you got a dumb kid?
no, I'd say he probably takes after me.
Because if he were smart, he'd bang somebody else's head on the floor. But it's not really very smart to bang your own head on the floor. And I did that when I was a kid, and look what's happened to me. So you say he's got bruises. So in other words, he's banging it pretty good.
Yes.
Do you have a pack and play or something like that?
We do have a pack and play, yeah.
All right. Put it up in the front room. The instant he bangs, you pick him up, you put him in a pack and play. Right now.
Okay, for how long? Because I'll put him in his...
As long as you want.
Okay.
And you just simply
There's
say...
not like
no, because he's not in timeout. He's just in a pack and play. Somebody might say, well, that is a timeout, Dr. Ray. Yeah, but he's got a little more freedom in there than he would in a corner or sitting on the steps. But here's the thing. First of all, this is not a sign of anything. You know that, right, Claire? Don't you know that?
Yeah, no, he's just being
okay.
1.5.
He's been 1.5. So he's banging his head. And sometimes they do stupid things that we have to stop him from doing, which nobody stops us adults from doing stupid things, but at least we can stop 1.5-year-olds. So you pick him up, you put him in there, and you just say, no banging. It's very simple. No banging. And he'll learn very quickly, oh, man, I'm not going to bang my head on the floor because she'll put me in that place, and all of a sudden I'll be really mad and I'll scream for a half an hour, which you probably will, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he can't really bang. I mean, he'll try to bang himself on the soft railings, or he'll try to bang himself on the padded floor of the pack and play, but that's not the same fun. You know, it's not hard enough.
Yeah, he can't see Mommy getting upset, so it takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, here's the other thing, too, Claire, and this happened with us when we had our oldest son. He used to bounce down the stairs on his bottom. He liked it. He liked doing it. Well, he made bruises on his bottom. And I told my wife, do not send him. He was in preschool a couple of days a week. I said, don't send him to preschool. Because they're going to see that, and it's going to kick in an investigation. And we're going to have to be investigated up one side and down the other. They're going to talk to us about our discipline strategies and everything else. And I don't want some 26-year-old girl with an English degree, I know I'm being facetious here, but coming in and saying, okay, well, we're going to just assess whether you're being psychologically appropriate. So we didn't. So you have to be careful about that, too. You know, if somebody sees a couple of...
Yeah, I've dropped him off at my parents' house to go shopping because I didn't want to take him outside looking like that.
Yeah. I had a woman once who called me. My second book was called Back to the Family. And in the Back to the Family book, we interviewed strong families, and we asked them, do you spank? About 70% of them did. They said, yeah, typically when the kids were younger and very sparingly. Well, she was taken to court, and she was moving up the appellate course because the neighbor lady saw her, I think her 2 or 3-year-old's shins all bruised up. and turned her in. And that started the process. I think she even lost temporarily custody of him. So she called me. She said, "Get me that book. I'm taking it to court with me." So I don't really know what happened after that. But that you got to be careful on that. So let's just let those bruises heal and put him in that pack and play. And he'll, I say, 5 times should do it. Should do it. He will realize that.
6 times you want me to call you back and tell you it's not working?
No, I want you to call me back and say, "Dr. Ray, you're a genius. You're brilliant." And if you can't say that,
that's why I called you in the first place, because you're a genius and you're brilliant.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to blow it then. Yeah, if it takes 8 times, okay. He'll get it real quick. Up to this point, nothing's been happening other than it hurts a little bit.
Well, I've been putting in timeout, but he can still bang his head in timeout.
That's it. That's exactly it. You're making it impossible for him to bang his head. And when he gets smarter, Claire, he's going to stop banging his head and he's going to start attacking your house, which doesn't hurt him. But, he's not smart enough yet to not self-assault, Thank you, dear. Thanks for the call.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Bye. Okay, here's the deal. I was 4 years old. I don't know if any of you remember those little games, Kitty in the Keg, where you unlocked these barrels and you went all the way down to this tiniest barrel with a little kitty in it. Oh, man, I thought it was just a great little game. Well, it wasn't closing the way I wanted it to close. I threw it up against the cinder block wall in our basement, and it kind of smashed. Yeah, I had a good arm. My mom was washing clothes nearby. She said, "Raymond, pick it all up." And I, being the sweet child that I am, said, "You pick it up." Oh. She wasn't going to. So I went over, shows you how bright I was, to the cinder block wall and started banging my head against the cinder block wall. Yeah, it probably had residual effects all the way through my life, as you can tell. I said something like, "I'm going to keep doing this until you pick it up." She came toward me, and I thought, putty in my hands. Yep, I knew it. I knew I could get her. She said, "Here, let me help you." Now, she wasn't going to do anything. I didn't know that. I stopped. I calculated that head banging is not all it's cracked up to be. My mom was Italian. She was not easily manipulated. Jimmy, Philadelphia, PA. How are you, sir?
I'm doing awesome, Dr. Ray. Thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate yours. Thanks.
I've listened into the show kind of on and off over the years, and I've got a...
That's your problem, Jimmy. That's your problem, Jimmy. Off and on, that's it.
Be locked in every day.
Yeah, you've got psychological gaps. Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Well, that's why I'm calling, so you can offer me some correction. So,
alrighty, sir.
Here's what I'm looking into. Is my daughter is 7 years old. Recently, we received a diagnosis of ADHD from her doctor, which was kind of came from her teacher and my wife and myself kind of filling out an assessment sheet on her behavior, attention span, those things, because we're looking to get her a little bit more assistance at school to kind of help keep her focused. Now, when I was younger, also received a diagnosis of ADD at the time, and am, as an adult now, mildly familiar with how I was able to overcome and persevere through some of those challenges, and just had to make some of my own adjustments. And I think it just took a long time to come to some of the realizations of what I needed to do to focus on those things. So here's my question, is that I am concerned that as my wife and I try to search for some resources to do the best job of guiding and parenting and helping to teach our daughter, that I need to find some, I hear the music there, that I need to find some resources that don't fall into the gentle parenting model and fall into more of the Dr. Ray's model of reality.
Oh, I like that. It makes a good book title. Jimmy, you stay there. We're gonna pick you up after the break, and we'll discuss this, and I'll get a chance to shamelessly self-promote. This is Dr. Ray.
60 on 10 with Monsignor Charles Pope.
The seventh commandment, you shall not steal. The seventh commandment forbids theft, that is, unjustly taking or keeping another's property against the reasonable will of the owner. It also prohibits deliberate retention of goods lent or of objects lost. It prohibits business fraud, paying unjust wages, forcing up prices, and taking advantage of the ignorance or the hardship of another person. It prohibits the appropriation and use for private purposes of common goods. Also, work poorly done, tax evasion, forgery of checks, invoices, excessive expenses, and waste. Under the seventh commandment is also tucked our social justice teachings, because if I have two coats, one of them belongs to the poor, and I reasonably ought to give what belongs to them, because God gave all the goods of this world for all the people of this world.
For more about the 10 Commandments, visit EWTNRC.com.
How would you define the word beatitude? Webster's dictionary defines beatitude as a state of utmost bliss and a declaration made in the Sermon on the Mount. The Catechism of the Catholic Church states that the Beatitudes are in effect a portrait of the man who declared them, Jesus Christ, depicting his countenance and portraying his charity. The Beatitudes also describe the attitudes and actions that should portray and depict his followers, true Christians. The Beatitudes are paradoxical in their promises. None seems more paradoxical than number 8, which proclaims, "Blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven." The paradox is that God is present even amidst trials and tribulations. This is Peggy Stanton, and this has been the Order of Malta's Minute with the Catechism.
Hear about the priest looking for something. His friend walked in. The priest said, "I'm meeting some members of the laity, and I can't find my collar." Friend said, a lay dating a collar short. Sorry, little 877-57. Yeah, it doesn't drop off, does it? All right. Let's go back to Jimmy. Jimmy, still there?
I am.
Okay, sir. You touched upon something I'm going to, how should I put this? I'm going to talk about, I don't know if you heard, given that you're an off and on listener, this is your problem, Jimmy. You probably didn't catch my monologue, my opening monologue, when I talked about some of the misconceptions regarding ADHD. Did you? Admit it.
I did not. I did not.
Just as I thought. Well, we can just hang up right now if that's the kind of respect I'm going to get. All right, I'm going to let it slide this time. Don't let it happen next time.
Thank you. Yes,
so I said there are certain things that I think are resulting in a heavy diagnosis of ADHD. I did not talk about what you just said. I will in a future program, which is the rating forms. Typically, one of the more common diagnoses of ADHD happens when the teacher says, well, I just think there's some things here that we need to look into regarding her attention span, regarding her impulse control, regarding her acting out, whatever it might be. So you go to a doctor, either a physician. Typically it's a physician, it's a general practitioner, a family practitioner. That's what you did, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's a lot of times the way it is. And you get rating forms. They give you rating forms. The teacher fills one out, you fill one out. And lo and behold, whoa, look where your daughter scored. She is up there on these characteristics, right?
Right.
Yep. Now, there's two problems here, two cautions. Rating forms are very subjective. So if you have a certain perception of your daughter being a certain way, it's going to tone how you rate it. Secondly, how long did that, and I'm not impugning anyone, how long did that physician talk to you or your daughter?
She didn't talk to her. She talked to us. And I don't know, maybe maybe 30 minutes. I mean, she spent a little bit of time.
Okay, that's a lot. Most of them is 10 to 15.
Yeah.
So given that, it's to accurately diagnose this, you got to go through a lot. You got to get a social history. You got to find out what's going on in the home. Ideally, you observe the child in a classroom. You talk to the teacher. Now, almost nobody does that. That's the way you got to do this to get a very reliable diagnosis in a lot of cases. Since that didn't happen, and I'm not questioning the diagnosis. Don't mishear me. I'm just simply saying that if we look at this and we see your daughter exhibiting these symptoms that people say, oh, yeah, is she a behavior problem for you?
She responds. She responds to feedback. She's more of a problem with focus and being able to accomplish the simple things that we'll ask her to do, or to stay kind of on task for any more than a very short amount of time.
So
we're getting a lot of that from school. A lot of feedback from school where she's not accomplishing her work in class.
Okay, so her symptom picture is more of a spacey, ditzy, drift off inattentiveness, right?
Yeah, that's probably right.
Okay. That responds a lot less to medication. That's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is, I don't know your daughter. It could be that right now the work's a little hard for her, for whatever the reason. Developmentally, maybe some learning quirks. It's hard for her. And the most natural response is to drift away. It's just not easy for me. It doesn't come easy. It's no fun. And I'm going to do anything just to avoid it. I see that a lot. Okay? So that's a possibility. What you're going to be forced to do is have all the work come home, and she'll work at the table after school, and you monitor it and give her breaks, however you wish to do that, because otherwise what tends to happen is they fall further and further behind, and then 2 years from now they're going to say, I think you need to hold her back, which usually doesn't work too well. So at this point, monitoring of the schoolwork is big. Finding out what exactly the teacher's doing in terms of breaking up the assignments, in terms of sitting her in a place where she's not as distracted. Who knows? There's all kinds of little things you can do. But for me, my first question would be, is she somewhat immature? And if she is, then that would explain some of this. Is she?
No, I don't think that she's immature for her age. I think that especially the class that she's in, there are multiple children. Like say maybe a quarter of the class to a third have some type of different behavioral type issues, and so I'm finding that the teacher is very overwhelmed with a lot of that. And so you've got a good percentage of this class that you can give a task to, an assignment, and they'll go through it. And then it's very easy for my daughter to fall into the distraction. So just most recently, same thing. She brought some of this work home, and I'm like, honey, I know you did this. This is work that you did in class. And she's like, yeah, the teacher did it. And then I didn't. And I'm like, why? Well, I was distracted. So she's even saying that. She's like, well, I was getting distracted. So she's paying attention to the kid making.
Well, the question becomes, Jimmy, is she being distracted or is she distractible? See, that's the question.
Yeah.
Because if, in fact, these kids are acting up and this class is chaos, then it's going to be a tough learning environment for her.
No, and I think that's a big part of it. But she is very distractible. So when I sit her down at the kitchen table and we're going over things, I have to do a lot of attention grabbers to snap her back to paying attention. Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to do now is to create breaks to work on little tasks at a time, maybe just the front page of one sheet, and then go take a couple-minute break and then come back and focus again. I mean, I used to have to lock, when my parents started this, basically putting me in the bathroom with nothing in the bathroom when I was her age or a little older to do my homework because I could not pay attention. I couldn't focus. And then further on in life, I just somehow, it started to click in my mind that I have to do this. So even to today, I got to put like earphones in when I'm trying to study or focus on something. I can't have any distractions. It takes me a long time to get back in the zone, if you will, if I get interrupted in a task that I'm working on. But I've just been able to brute force overcome it with discipline and willpower that a 7-year-old doesn't have. So I just want the tools to be able to help her and guide her to develop some of those for herself, regardless if the diagnosis is 100% accurate or not.
There are a lot of books out there probably dealing with this, a very, very common, popular topic. I don't have any. The closest I have to that is Discipline That Lasts a Lifetime. I don't have any. So you can search out for some of those books and see what you can do. And by the way, you touched on something, which is ADD is definitely got a high genetic component to it. So that's part of the explanation.
Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo.
Americans are curious about the religious devotion of others and are willing to discuss the topic, but most say they rarely have conversations about faith with their Christian friends. A study by Lifeway Research finding Americans are widely receptive to spiritual conversations in a variety of settings. Now, perhaps more than ever, people are open to conversions about faith, yet few Christians actually take the opportunity to engage in personal evangelism. The reason conversations are not happening about the Christian faith, that Christians are not bringing it up. And I think this is key. Now, this person is not saying we shouldn't be concerned about religious liberty in the sense of, yes, there is great persecution out there. But at the end of the day, it is about the fact that we're not doing enough talking about Jesus.
Catholic Connections, Teresa Tomeo. Weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Christ is the answer with Father John Riccardo.
I repeat, I'm sure ad nauseum to the guys who are here, a line from Pope Benedict Emeritus now, who used to say over and over again, to be a Christian is not the result of an ethical choice, but the result of an event, an encounter, a meeting with the living God in the person of Jesus Christ. This and nothing less is what it means to be a Christian. So we said the new evangelization is new in ardor. That's a kind of old-fashioned word. What in the world is ardor? Ardor is zeal, fervor, passion. Are you passionate about Jesus? Passionate about Jesus. Are you zealous for Jesus? Are you fervent for Jesus? Are we fervent for the gospel? Are we passionate about helping this world come to know him?
Very nice to have you with me here on The Doctor Is In, Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Co-production, EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network and Ave Maria Radio. Communications with my compadres there in Ann Arbor. Andrew Kruchek, producer man. Eric Dumont, call Screamer Man. I can't believe this. I'm nervous here about taking Catherine from Lincoln, Nebraska, because, well, she's basically saying, Dr. Ray, your book didn't do me any good. That's what I'm reading between the lines here. Makes me nervous. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Dr. Ray.
I'd rather put the blame on you, but okay, if you want to blame the book, go ahead.
Well, you know what? I have 5 kids, and it's working on the 3 out of the oldest 4, and I'll give some grace to the 1-year-old since.
Oh, okay.
He's
all right. So we got
right now.
So we got one that's really pushing on it.
Yeah, and I can't blame him. He's 11 years old, so I've vacillated between lax and then, yelling, ineffective.
Wait a minute, Catherine. So I knew it. I was hoping you'd say that because you were saying you're having a hard time implementing the book. But if you're lax and then yelling, that's not implementing the book.
Well, no, this was before. Then I got the books, and I've been going all in like was suggested. We have just, and our youngest are taking very well to it. Our oldest, just in the last week, we've been having him write essays. So 2 so far, and then writing lines and instant consequences.
Only a week? Only a week here, Catherine?
Only a week. I just recently got your book, so only a week.
Okay, stop there a second. Your son is 11 years and how many months?
8 months.
Okay. So let's go from 2. So that's 9 years from age 2. That's 9 times 12 is 108. And 8 months is 116 months. And that's approximately, we're going to just make it real easy, double. So that's 232 weeks of you saying you've been alternating between lax and yelling, right? 232 weeks?
Right.
And now 1 week.
Well, my question is more the way he reacts. It's the concern over, so the first time we had him write an essay, he was saying things like, I'm not going to be able to finish this because I'll be dead. And then when I said, how do you suppose that will happen? And he was like, well, I won't eat or drink anything. It's taken 2 hours, and we don't respond, but he has been, it's like possession, He shrieks and he screams, but then by the 3rd hour, when he actually starts it, he gets it written within an hour, and then he has like a bounce in his step. My question is, did you give any resources to your own children when you had them write essays? Like, I pretty much just gave him the dictionary and the catechism the first time.
You can do what you want, Catherine. You can make him write sentences. You can make him write an essay. You can make him define dictionary words. You can make him copy scripture. You can make him copy inspirational book. You can do whatever you want. Your mom. What that is kind of a written timeout. But here's what you're experiencing, I think. I don't know your son, so I can't really comment specifically on your situation. But here's what I typically see with, let's say, an 11-year-old kid whose mom says, I'm changing the way we're operating, which is really what you've done. And the reason I said you had 232 weeks of that particular style, and you've had 1 week of changing your style, that's your son is basically saying, I think, what are you doing? You can't do this. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. I'm going to show you how mad I am, and I'm going to say all kinds of ugly things. I see that routinely when parents come into my office after trying to gain control of a situation where the child has for years not really been easily cooperative because of his temperament, and he's defeated the parents. As a result, when you're finally saying, here's what you got to do, he goes crazy on you. Flat out. Mm-hmm. I think that's what you're witnessing. I can't say for sure. I don't know your son. But I see it all the time. I call it escalation in a couple of my books. What you can do, you can try this. You can say, well, son, I'll tell you what. You got 1 hour to write the essay. If it's not written in an hour, I'm just going to take it. I'll take what you have, and you don't have to write it. Oh, but wait. But by the way, you have no privileges whatsoever of any kind until the essay's written. 3 hours from now, I'll give you another chance. You can do that.
And so with those privileges, is it like...
Everything.
Do you suggest taking away everything in his room at that point?
Well, toys, games, stuffed animals, favorite shirt, hoodie. I mean, you just simply say, look, son, I'm not going to fight you. You don't want to fight him. I'm not going to fight you.
Okay.
When he goes crazy like that, he's not a 2-year-old. He's an 11-year-old who's basically letting his emotions go nutso on you. Why? Because he absolutely hates what you're doing. You've never done this before. What kind of nonsense have you been reading? That's the way he looks at it. It doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, pretty much every parent that walks in my office, I always have to talk to him and say, look, when you do this, you be ready, because depending upon how your son chooses to react to this, it could get pretty fiery.
Right.
No, when he says, I'm going to stop eating. Well, only you know how serious that is. I mean, if he's just blowing smoke because he wants to make you feel rotten, and because he's done it before in the past, when you frustrated him, he fires off all kinds of stuff designed to make you second guess yourself.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, after he said that, I had gone downstairs and came back up, and he was drinking out of a water bottle. So, I mean...
yeah, that's kind of a sign. But
you have the perseverance.
Again, what you're seeing is 11 years, or 9 years since he was 2, 9 years of him really getting used to the fact that you either let it slide, or you yelled, or you argued, or negotiated, or you debated, or you wrangled, or you reminded, or you got frustrated, or you didn't know what to do, or you tried everything, nothing works. And all of that happened over 9 years. And now when you say, especially when he's pre-adolescent, probably his hormones are starting to kick in. Now when you say, I think I better change some things because it's gotten really ugly around here. And I'm not doing you any favors, son. He's like, What? You're kidding. I can't tell you how many parents will tell me when they sign an essay, the kid will look at them like, I'm not writing that. I'm not doing it. Not a chance. I say, okay, then just shut him down. You don't have to do it. All privileges are gone till you do.
Okay.
Okie dokie. And I talk about, talk about, Catherine, I don't know if you're that part of the book or not, but I talk about in the book, what do you do when they refuse the consequence?
I did read the blackout. I guess I've been letting him, I haven't gone back and forth with him. We haven't gone back and forth. He rants and raves pretty much to himself for the 2 hours, but then he does do it.
Okay.
Because we say, we're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything. You're not participating in anything until it's done. That's
and I would suspect that, Catherine, he's ranting for 2 hours now, but a month from now, he'll rant for 5 minutes.
Okay.
It'll slowly taper.
I guess that's just the hope I need there.
Well, he needs to be convinced that you mean what you say. Right now, he's still looking at you like, what's going on with you? What are you doing? This is against all the way we've operated. What? Okie dokie?
Yeah.
Call me back.
Thank you.
Bless your heart. This is Dr. A. I'll be back.
When your children consider going to college, where are you going to find a place that will prepare them for the future and build on the foundation that you've laid? The answer? Ave Maria University. With an authentically Catholic curriculum, including 35 majors, AMU prepares students to take on the world.
I've seen the difference in my son since he's been at Ave Maria. He's happy, he's excited about what he's going to do with his degree, and he's living his faith.
Learn more at avemaria.edu. That's avemaria.edu.
This program is brought to you by the following nonprofit underwriter.
Are you longing to hear God's voice? Lord, Teach Me to Pray, the free Ignatian Prayer Series will open your heart to His voice, to the peace you are seeking, and the only love that fulfills the human heart, Jesus. God is calling you to true joy, knowing Jesus personally. Lord, Teach Me to Pray is free. Go to LordTeachMeToPray.com, click on the red box, order the Lord Teach Me to Pray series now. Go to LordTeachMeToPray.com.
He was a pope, a saint, and a doctor of the Church.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
Pope St. Gregory I the Great is one of only 4 popes honored as the Great. Among his many achievements was sending missionaries across Northern Europe, especially St. Augustine of Canterbury, who brought Christ to the people of England. In a pun, Pope Gregory called the English people angels. He died in 604.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
Underwritten in part by the following nonprofit.
Are you paying high prices with a traditional health insurance company that pays for things that violate your conscience? There's an alternative available. Solidarity HealthShare is a community of faithful individuals and families that never share into immoral medical services, all while saving you money with prices starting as low as $85 per month for singles and $512 for families. Never fund another abortion with your healthcare dollars. Call 844-313-4999 to learn more.
That is the toughest part for parents. When they ultimately realize things are just not going well. And much of it surrounds discipline. These are good parents. These are loving people. And they don't understand, this dear mom, she had 5 kids. So obviously she wants kids. She loves kids. And she's thinking, okay, 3 of them are responding very well to this. But this got this one, who's probably it sounded like he was the oldest, is just resisting. And that's what fills my office. When parents come in and say, we've tried to do A, B, C, D, and E, and we ran into the most fiery resistance. And it's totally understandable. You've changed the rules. Excuse me. And now the child's upset. Really, really upset. But typically, once they realize this is the new modus operandi, little Latin lingo there, they do settle. They settle into it. And what tends to happen is the relationship improves dramatically. This is not a jackbooted, I'm the boss, punk, and you better listen. No. This is, I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to argue and scream at you like I do anymore. I don't treat anybody like I treat you. I don't want to do that. I'm going to enforce the simple expectations for your moral well-being, and we'll have a peaceful home, and you'll be happier, and I'll be happier. And almost every parent comes into me 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks later and says, wow, I'm living with a different kid. All right, I just got a text, actually, from Taylor Wilson, who is my publicist at Sophia and EWTN. And they're setting up all kinds of radio interviews, TV interviews for my newest book, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. So, Taylor, if you're listening, thank you. You are truly efficient. Sorry about that. Efficient. I was on, just did a film with EWTN News Nightly, Tracy Sable. One delightful lady. We were talking about the book, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. And when you get to be my age, you sort of just get to the point where, get off my lawn. Okay, that's my main concern about whatever has to be. Get off my lawn. And so I told Tracy, I said, Tracy, I probably shouldn't tell you this. And I tried to convince him not to do it. And we're going to get it changed. But on the back of the book, when it says almost everybody, they had your picture. She just broke up, and she's a very professional interviewer, and she just decided, but what the heck. So, all right, just a couple minutes left. See what I wanted to do here. Oh, got to tell you about the Columbus Men's Conference down at the Kasich Center. Go to their website, columbusmensministries.com, for all the details on the time, the price. Harold Burke Sivers is going to be there. He's a firebrand, that guy is. And then I'll speak in the afternoon to the guys. One of the largest conferences in the country. From what I understand, they've got 1,000 to 2,000. That's a lot of dudes. And one lady will be able to take care of all of their expectations regarding food and all of that. Just one person. That's all it takes, one lady. It takes 20 guys to do that at a women's conference. So, but that's kind of neat. All right, nothing else here? All right, what do I want to say? Share you this. I love this. And this was the first little preface in my book, Jesus the Master Psychologist. The Christian and the materialist. Now, the materialist means the universe is all there is, as Carl Sagan would say. Oh, the universe, billions and billions of years, and that's all there is, and that's all there ever will be. The Christian and the materialist hold different beliefs about the universe. They can't both be right. The one who is wrong will act in a way which simply doesn't fit the real universe. Consequently, with the best will in the world, he will be helping his fellow creatures to their destruction. Yeah? If there is a God, and he says, do it this way, don't do it that way. He knows what he's talking about. He designed things. And so someone who says, no, there either is no God or I'm going to ignore him, and we'll do it this way, is acting against the way God set it up. He's wrong. Bad stuff happens. Thank you for joining me here. Dr. Ray Guarendi, program Doctor is In. So much appreciate the company. Walk with God, the designer of the universe.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.